yes, there's the whole realm of this is like sex is fun, sex is good, pleasure, all the things that are cool about being queer and being able to have like more freedom and sexuality. And I'm not like against that. I just want to talk about the underbelly for people, because a lot of men in gay or male relationships are going to be like gay. Really. They're going to go like for like, part of like open relationship strategy is to like help create space for the emergent parts of ourselves, to have the different parts of our sexuality honored, and that's all wonderful. And it's also for a lot of people like a way to like keep like managing distance and intimacy in some sort of way, which is fine, whatever. Like, it's not any better or worse in a dyadic kind of monogamous relationship. It's just different ways of trying to manage the same stuff.
MeMeCherry presents a series of fortunate events, fortunate events, fortunate events, a series of fortunate events.
Hola, hola, hola. Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the series of Fortunate Events.
Oh, this hair.
Podcast.
I wish I had it.
Brought to you by it's still me, MeMeCherry, and I'm joined today by a returning guest. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Finn Deerhart.
Finn Deerhart.
Yeah, returning. Yes.
Returning. You are from the audio files.
I'm an OG.
Yes. I mean, when I had the 100th episode, you and Sam came up. When the 8-year podiversary kind of review came up, you always come up, because you and Sam are always my example of the non-drag queen famous people that I'm proud.
drag queens. Yeah.
That I'm proud to like have had on the podcast, because I'm so honored to have shared your stories. And so when I look through the pantheon of amazing people that have been on the show, I'm honored to have had the both of you on. And so I'm so glad to have you back. We lifed and panini'd, and you all kind of like did your thing for a while, and then suddenly you were back in my life, and I was very excited. And we did the trans march last year.
Oh my God.
Was it last year or the year before?
That was a day for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was cranky all day, but I was with you.
You were doing great.
No, I was so cranky.
You were doing great, sweetie. It's just, it was a day, like, and we were feeling feels, and it was like, and like crowds and like all that stuff. But we got through it together. And then you and Sam saved my doomed summer get together last year that I was trying to do like my little party hostessing on, and like almost everybody canceled on me at the last minute. And you and Sam came all the way from the city, and you were so sweet, and you and Charles, and like you ate my food.
And the woman who is like gonna get like an apartment here,
which she did. And then she like reached out to me, and I tried to like schedule some time with her, and then she just never circled back. And then people are just kind of flighty. But yeah,
this is true.
Yeah, but anyways, fast forward, and I was like, I gotta get you back on the podcast to catch up with you. So last time you were on in 2017. We talked about.
Is that it? Really?
Yeah, that was the first time, and then 2018 was the second time, because you've been on twice. This is your third time. Wow. You're a third returning guest. There's like a small handful that are returning. It's like the SNL 5-time hosts. It'll be like a 5-time returning guest. You'll get a jacket or a shirt or something. Not a jacket, probably a T-shirt. So when you were on in 2017, sorry, my ADD brain is firing up today.
That's fun though. Let's keep that going.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you were on in 2017, we talked about your background, because what running theme of this show is trauma. and how we survive and thrive. And one of the things that came up was, you know, that you had a previous life in a relationship that like had fizzled away, and then because of the show you ended up hearing from her, and so then when we returned, that was the update when you returned in 2018. And so that was quite an update just from 2017 to 2018. So I can only imagine what the updates must be from 2018 to 2025. Talk to me. What has happened in the world of Finn Deerhart since 2018, since the last time you were on the pod?
Well, I will say this first, though.
Yeah.
Do you think, did you ride a bike when you were a little girl?
Did I? You know, I learned later as a teenager. I was never properly taught a lot of things as a child, and so I learned a lot of things later in life. And like, I have a lot of trauma and fear around those things.
Bikes. Well, I always have this
Bikes
idea
and
that
cars.
we would ride bikes. That we would be like, let's go ride our bike.
Yeah.
I really do. Like,
Yeah.
when you were walking up to hug me, I was like, we should get on our bikes and ride.
Yes. I do want a tricycle bike. I want like the big tricycle
streamers.
bikes. Yes. So I will happily ride the tricycle bike.
Yeah. Well, I will, you know, you mentioned my ex-wife. So
Yes.
the first time we talked,
I also just want people to go back and listen to those episodes because they were so good, but I want to tease what
I
we
was a
talked
child
about.
then.
And now you're a man.
Yes. I didn't even shave today because I didn't know we were on camera.
You're giving trade of the season. It's okay, daddy. You're giving daddy.
So she reached out to me, and then now actually we talk all the time.
I love that.
Yeah. In fact,
Fun fact.
she picked me up at the airport. She surprised me. So like, this is like 3 years ago. My family got together for Thanksgiving, and my mom and dad haven't been together in years. Thank God. Anyway, but we're gonna see.
Shout out divorce.
We're gonna yes. We're gonna see my dad, which I had not seen my dad in years myself. And my ex-wife met me at the airport, and this is the first time I had seen her in like a decade.
Wow.
She picked me
So you've
up.
been talking,
We've
but you
been
hadn't
talking on the
seen
phone.
each other.
Yeah, actually, like 2 years, it was maybe like 3 years ago, right before this whole situation, I got like this random phone call from her, and I was like, oh, that must be a butt dial. And I didn't answer it, and then it was just like, it rolled to voicemail, and then she called back, and I was like, okay, then I
This
didn't
feels
answer that.
intentional.
Yeah, I didn't.
Or the butt is dialing a lot.
Her butt is insistent, yeah. And then she texted me and was like, hey, do you want to have a conversation? This is very like her too, like when she decides, she's like, you know,
Comes knocking on the door. I'm ready to talk now.
Yeah, let's talk now.
You ready?
Yeah, totally. I'm like, I didn't want to miss my window. So yeah, I like had a conversation. She was like, you know, I just need to tell you that like all the like husband stuff, whatever aside, you were just a really shitty friend. She was like, you were the worst friend. And I was just like, I know. And I had just been wanting to talk to her for years. And then she was just like, hey, we had that moment. And then she was like, well, here we are. And we talked an hour and a half.
Wow.
After that.
Wow.
It was just like kind of this part of me too that I had not felt in just years. It was like,
yeah.
it was weird.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is why I've been a little depressed for a long time.
Does she ever come up in
Missing
your
her.
dreams?
She comes, I don't know.
Because I have
I
have a friend who like I used to joke was like my wife. Then the joke was like she was my wife because we didn't have sex, but that we basically had that such an enmeshed relationship that we were kind of like wife and wife. And in the panini, like after I moved actually into this apartment.
What do you call that? Is that like a thing? Is that what we're calling
Yeah,
it?
the
Okay.
pandemic, the Panasonic,
I'm
the
like-
panorama,
I
the
used to see, like, a
panini.
cheesy sandwich. Anyway,
It's just any P word except
Yeah.
pandemic,
Yeah,
which technically we never really got out of, but whatever, T, that's for another day.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just, you know, you have like rose tinted glasses for certain relationships for so long, and you kind of like ignore certain things. And also like you have your own shit, right? Because you're like a garbage. I realizing that like I was like a garbage pail kid for like so long. And of course, you know, a lot of people that I was surrounded with were like semi-garbage pail kids too. And when I was trying to get my shit together, I'm looking around and realizing that like you're kind of outgrowing people. And we had a moment where she like became physical. She was out of her mind. She was having like a really manic moment. And she says that I had a fly on my forehead. I felt nothing. She felt compelled to full palm like hit me in the forehead, and I'm not good with like I've had experience with violence, and especially intimate partner violence, and that to me is like a no, especially my face. I have a thing, like, unless I tell you to hit my face and we're fucking, you don't touch my face. And she didn't even, like, I remember I came home and she was in such a mania that she had already forgotten. And, you know, she also has a history, unfortunately, of like compulsive lying. And so when I put all that together and I felt like she had been lying to me about something, I just finally was like, I can't. And so I remember I didn't even like have like a fully, I also was in the throes of like, you know, the tail end of like borderline alcoholism. I'm 11 months sober now from alcohol. And so I also was dealing with my stuff. And so I never had like a proper closure. I just like blocked her everywhere. And then I recently unblocked her on social media because she kept showing up in my dreams. And we had a thing that like over the years we had broken up a couple times, and like so we had time apart before, and we had a thing that like that she would project into my dreams, and that I would sometimes show up in her dreams, and like that when we were thinking about the other one, that it would project into dreams. And so she started showing up in my dreams, and I was like, bitch, what do you want? Yeah. And then for the sake of my own healing, I unblocked her everywhere. I haven't reached out. I don't feel compelled to reach out. I don't think that's what I need, but I didn't feel the need to block her anymore because that felt very extreme. I don't know.
I mean, sometimes a block is good.
Yeah. I guess I'm also like I need all the views I can get.
She hasn't reached out to you.
I
know that she was blocked.
I severely blocked her everywhere. Like she had no way of reaching out. She would have had to like come and show up at my house, and you know, we definitely had outgrown those phases of our lives. Yeah, and she never did she never wrote me a letter or anything like that. I also again just don't realize. I don't know if she ever realized what she did.
I don't think people really ever do or can.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, like, they can't know.
And, like, compulsive liars, unless they do, like, because I looked into it, and it's like, unless they do intensive therapy, they don't stop being compulsive liars. Because that's part of the compulsion, is that they don't actually need to. And that was part of what would bother. She used to use me as a scapegoat, too, for her lies a lot. And so that used to bother me. But then I would let her do it. You know what I mean? But then you realize, you start adding up how many lies are lies, and like silly lies, stupid lies, like lies for no reason. Like she would be here in my house taking a call, and she wants to get off the phone. And she'll be like, oh yeah, Mariana's she's giving me dirty looks. I got to get off the phone. And I'm literally over here. I'm not even within eyesight of her. Mm-hmm. I'm not even looking at her. Mm-hmm. And she uses me as an excuse to, like, get off the phone because I'm giving her dirty looks. I should get off the phone. Yeah. And, like, I remember when we were younger, like, her mom would catch her with drugs, like, you know, weed or whatever in the car. And she would say it was mine. Is that a drug? I mean, you know what I mean? But, you know, back then it was like, oh, it was like a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, and so, like, her mom's catching her with weed in the car. And she's like, oh, no, that's not mine. That's Mariana's.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've been thinking about her recently. It's like the universe has been sending me messages of, like, oh, you know, like, it's okay to let go of that friendship, and sometimes you outgrow people, and blah, 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 da, da, da. So it's interesting to hear you receiving that, like a message like that of like, yo, you weren't showing up in a good way. So how did that feel to have somebody be radically honest with you like that? And then what did you do with that information?
It was great. I mean, it was the truth. I wasn't a good friend, you know. I wasn't. I lied to her a lot, and
speaking of liar,
but like it just felt good because I wanted a real repair and like an authentic connection, and so like hearing her say that was like, thank you, like and then I could acknowledge that and move on. Also, I hadn't really had a chance to have a real apology with her that didn't include like kind of buts. You know what I mean? So it was like an opportunity just to listen and be like, I didn't want to get anything out of that like from her necessarily other than like her talking to me. So I got to be there, listen to it, acknowledge it, be like, totally, it was a shit ass friend. What else? Anything else? Keep talking. And
I love that you received it.
Well, what else would I do?
I mean, especially I feel like sometimes
Yeah.
there's like a cliche, right, of like therapists, counselors, that they're not always the best receivers of that kind of information.
Is there?
They're good. Yeah, like there's a cliche that like the therapists are like having a
Right.
mom as a therapist is like the worst kind
Oh, I
because they're
know.
always like therapizing you, but they don't
I know,
necessarily take
seriously.
accountability of
Oh
themselves.
my god, totally. Or just like kind of deflecting.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
With like a lot of jargon,
exactly.
gaslighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. No more. She's
Ma'am.
She's gonna start the feet licking again.
This is not only pups.
See, she's going for him.
I know, she really is.
She wants the feet.
8. Okay, well, that
Only
was
pups.
8. That's a nice catch up in terms of that. How have things been with you continue to be with your beautiful partner, Sam Sebastian?
Yeah. Anything in particular you wanna?
Has anything of like you having those radical conversations, does that then make you confront anything in your current relationship that you are in now?
She just keeps like licking my feet.
Come here.
Radical conversations. Wait, say that
So
again.
you get something like a radical honesty like that from somebody who was your former partner.
Oh yeah, but it's
And-
a practice, right? Like in relationship to my partnership.
Yeah.
But yeah, because like it's like a constant like you don't know what you don't know about yourself until you do.
Yeah.
And then we've been together for 9 years, so yeah, we're kind of going through a new phase of that actually, of just
Sure.
like because we both have grown a lot and
Yeah.
changed and yeah, actually, it's a lot of that going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Growth, evolution.
Well, like, like you have to keep like evolving as like, there's like the whole like cliche about like eroticism and relationships and it going out the window after a while, and it's like,
Talk to me as somebody who's been in a longer now relationship than I ever have been.
well, I feel like, I mean, yeah, I know that it can go out the window and you can just be done with somebody. I get that, but like, I think, and being a counselor around sexuality too, and just kind of working with people, like if you keep updating, like if we're in a relationship and we used to connect sexually over some scripts that we had with each other that were relevant, but then
Sure. Like, I'm Snow White and you're the evil queen and
Or, like,
we're both the
you
fairest of them all.
want to be, or like I want you to initiate, and if you
Sure.
don't, there's a problem, and I have a story about that. And
Yes.
so if you're
I
doing
remember us
that,
having
and
a
no, like,
conversation
you
about
don't do
that.
that, but so and so does, and this is like the the things we play out.
Sure.
And so I think like relationship is a great place to break all that down, because like the more you grow, then it's like, so I've grown in certain ways, then he's got to change how he relates with me, and then he grows in some ways, and I have to change how I relate with him, and that's the only way to stay vital and erotic, because
Ooh.
it's like you have to keep like relating to each other where you're at in your growth path. But a lot of people just like stay at the scripts that they have around sex and try to replay that over and over again, and then it like doesn't work with that same person anymore, because you've just too much about each other, or you're kind of stymieing each other's growth, because it's like, I don't want you to grow in this way because that makes me feel uncomfortable, and you don't want me to grow that way because that makes you feel uncomfortable. So it's just like a gridlock.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, it is hard work. You always hear people say like, relationship is hard work, and it is, but so is not being in a relationship. It's all hard work, right? Like being alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like. So
You can say that one louder for the back and for the pups in the back.
for the pups with the foot fetish over here.
Oh my
This
God,
girl,
seriously.
Does she lick your feet?
Not that I don't think so, because I'm pretty ticklish.
Yeah. Oh, I
So
know.
like I don't like.
She's got a little.
She just has a thing for your feet.
Yes. Well. She or he. Yeah. He. Yeah. So we're both kind of like. He's in grad school right now, and he's going through a lot of change, and
He's done a lot of evolution since the last time that I had him on.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm 45, and we got together when
Shout
I
out
was
45.
36. So, I'm in a different phase of my life,
Sure.
and kind of like coming into new qualities of myself and new
course.
ways of wanting to be in the world that I'm trying to find my footing in and trying to find my way in. And I think eroticism is a kind of one of these ways that we can have that mirror back to ourselves. And
Yeah.
so it's easy to imagine or fantasize that someone else out there might see that, or maybe they do, but they only see this one slice of me. Whereas the person I live with, it's like we have all this history and all this stuff, and like all this struggling to get out of the versions of ourselves that we're trying to leave and grow into. And we just have to keep updating and keep finding each other and keep being vulnerable and being like, okay, let me dive in again and see, like, we don't really know each other. Do you know what I mean? You really don't truly know each other.
You keep getting to know each other.
Yeah, like you think you know each other and you tell yourself you do because it helps you feel secure and safe.
I feel like I'm like your
Like,
feet's bodyguard right now.
I'm like, should I put on? Should
You'll probably just lick the
should I
socks.
put these away? Like, I love this. If I could get my partner to respond this way to my feet. I actually do love having my feet played with.
See, she knows.
I know.
She is a service animal. She knows what you need.
Is she a service bottom? Is she?
Foggy service bottom.
Foggy service bottom? Yeah.
Furry service
I was gonna
bottom.
say foggy service bottom. That means she's on poppers. Is that what that means?
Scorpio, double Scorpio.
Not anymore.
What happened?
They got shut down.
Oh, yeah. They got raided, right?
Yeah, or something. I know.
Oh, my God. Well, that actually is funny and scary.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I think funny isn't the right word that I would use, but I think
Like, it's just like...
I want. Yeah, I think I know what you're...
Like comical. Like, it's just like you have to laugh where you cry kind of a thing.
Yeah, like, I think I know what you're getting at. It's like just the... what's the word? The like the ignorance, whether it's willful or not.
It's
ignorance.
just it's so hateful that it's absurd.
Yeah.
It becomes comical. Like the hate becomes like absurd. It's just like it doesn't make sense.
I mean, like RFK says that they cause AIDS or something. I mean, they are an accelerant in behavior, right? Like any kind of substance that gives you is an accelerant, but that isn't the cause of anything.
Sure. Causation. What is it like? Effect and causation are not the same thing.
Correlation is not causation, and I would say the thing is like, I would make a bigger case for like shame being a cause for behaviors in like a disconnection from our bodies and not communicating and not honoring the boundaries that we have for ourselves and not blaming the substance necessarily.
Yeah, no, like there's a reason why so many queer people want to disassociate. Like, let's tap into that and not demonize what they're using to disassociate with.
Not the least like aggressive like fucking perpetrators coming at us like them, like the government, you know.
I know.
You're like, and let's
play a fun little game. You have mentioned that you're a sex counselor, so let's play a fun little myth or fact game before we go to our first commercial break. I'm gonna give you some statements, and you tell me if in your opinion, they are a myth or a fact.
Okay, I hope this doesn't make me look like an idiot.
I don't think it will. You can't get pregnant from pre-cum. Myth or fact?
Wait, you cannot get pregnant from
pre-cum.
That's a myth.
Perfect.
Because you can. The wording, you almost tripped me up with the words, though.
Kinks and fetishes are always rooted in past trauma.
False.
Myth. You can train yourself to have better orgasms through mindfulness.
Yes.
In fact, yes.
Yes.
What is it like? Hell nah. Yes. Watching too much porn can ruin your sex life.
No. False.
False. Myth.
Yeah, myth.
Myth. Sexual compatibility is more important than communication in a relationship.
Sexual compatibility is more important than what?
Communication.
Myth, because communication is what helps build compatibility.
Boom. Your attachment styles affect your sex life.
True.
Very,
God, true.
very much so.
Can we say that again?
You're attached.
Yeah.
Say it louder for the ones in the back. Your attachment style affect your sex life.
Yes.
My gosh, I've been learning about attachment styles in the last couple of years, and wow, was that mind blowing.
Yeah.
Whew. And it actually helped me too, because it helped me to be more mindful too with like my friendships, and that I started to make sure that like I started diversifying my friendships a little bit more so that I wouldn't strangle. Like I told my best friend Mama Celeste one day that I was making sure to hang out with other friends because I didn't want to strangle her with my love.
Mm-hmm.
And that like that's very much like something, you know, abandonment, you know, kind of like tied attachment styles will make you like and so I've learned that sometimes I can have that, and so I've been working through that. My breakup last year finally threw me into like proper therapy, and so we worked through a lot for some intensive 6 months or so.
Did somebody tell you that you strangled them, their love, or like where did that image come from?
I just know, like, I just was recognizing that in myself, and I think
such a strong
I love
image.
hard.
That's why I'm saying.
I love hard, and like I can. Well, I think it was also realizing the ADD. I haven't gotten formally diagnosed, but my therapist says that I show a lot of symptoms for ADD, including rejection sensitivity dysphoria, just based on a lot of the conversations that we were having and based on the breakup and how I was relating to that breakup. And so a lot of that stuff made me realize that part of that also was making me, like, when you feel like something's slipping, you grab on even more, just because your brain is just wired that way. And so rewiring my brain to recognize that that's not a good response. You don't want to strangle people with your love.
Yeah, I think it's a human tendency. Yeah, like just to say it's not like you're uniquely fucked or anything, you know.
But it's recognizing it, right?
Is, like,
so that then you can, like, maybe try to do something a little differently so that you don't do a thing that, like, maybe doesn't feel good. Because I don't want to make people not feel good when they think about me.
I want to say this, though, about this.
Tell me.
You know, there's like
Talk
a
to
lot. It's like super in vogue to talk about like attachment style, and that's not like it's like a facet of the stuff that goes on in a relationship, but it's not like the only metric, and that is like, you know, like social media talks about it that way.
Yeah.
And I think what were you saying?
Let's take a quick commercial break because I feel like there's a thread that we can pull here. Because I like the idea of like trendy therapizing, and people use words like gaslighting, things like that, and they don't know what it means. So we'll be right back.
In my crumble opinion, I strongly identify as Zendaya as an Oakland baddie with a twink problem. Boink. Horny jail. The movie Goons. Gooning is to masturbation what Tashi's conception of tennis is, and what the boys think tennis is at the beginning of the film. End zone, penetrating the end zone, I don't know, what are some other home run, home base, touchdown, let's punt, rhymes with I don't know. That's fishy to me. And that straight guys are sometimes the most queer. Challengers does for queer theory what Barbie thinks it does for feminism. In my crumble opinion.
We're back. Yes, sorry, that was a little abrupt, but I wanted to make sure that the camera didn't cut out on us. So let's pull this thread a little bit about like the trendification of like therapy talk, and like, for example, gaslighting, right? Like, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was describing a situation with a girl that he's in, that he's like frustrated with. He uses this word gaslighting, and I'm like, okay, stop. What is gaslighting? And he's like, well, I don't really know. I'm like, well, describe it. Like, what is she doing that is making you describe, like, to use this word to describe the actions? And then what he described, I was like, well, that to me sounds like manipulation, which is part of gaslighting, but gaslighting is even more specific. I was like, imagine that light is flickering over there, and I'm making that light flicker. I am doing something to make that light flicker, and you tell me that light is flickering, and I tell you no. That is gaslighting. There's intentional manipulation and like action behind said manipulation. Like there's more intentionality and like, I feel like almost like maliciousness behind gaslighting, when I think a lot of times when people say gaslighting, they just mean like somebody made me feel bad,
Someone
or
was defensive.
yeah, or they were manipulative. I think a lot of times it gets misused for manipulative, which is a proper word.
A lot of terms are, they're just like kind of thrown around. I think what it highlight, I would just pull it to a context around, we want to have certainty about everything, and that makes people feel like they have a kind of control over the situation. So whether it's gaslighting or like narcissist or whatever, it's like having a sense of control. People's experience too is interesting, right? Because like your experience could be that you are being gaslit if somebody's being really defensive with you and not empathizing, but it doesn't mean they're intentionally doing it, or maybe they are, maybe they're not, maybe they even if they are, it's like there's a dimension of that of any behavior that's unconscious. So
Sure.
I don't, it's like from a depth level around it, it's like I almost like we keep peeling and peeling. It's like, do we know what we're doing? Like I don't,
Yeah.
yeah. So people are obsessed with terms and having a way to, I think, like flex like a kind of like a power drive.
Yeah.
This
I'm
goes, like-
smarter than you.
Yeah, also like around like I was just talking with somebody the other day about how like in woke conversation too, like it's a lot of white people like being very like, it's like virtue signaling and using terms and like canceling people, not because, I mean, maybe they are connected to some of the stuff that they're really fighting for, quote unquote, but a lot of it just feels like it's like because they want to like be right and they want to,
Most of the time. But that's a very human trait.
well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like a power thing. Actually, do you know the author Miriam Gurba?
Not off the top of my head.
She's a Chicana lesbian writer. She's read her memoir. It's fucking good. There's sexual violence in there, so like if you can read it, like this book is amazing, but like you should know that that's in there.
Sure.
Why am I saying this? Oh, because there's this whole like scene where she's in a cafe and there's this donut that is called the Michael Jackson, and it's like a chocolate donut with white frosting.
Wow.
And she's going on and on and on about like how they like there's like this big argument going on about this is a racist donut, and like it was like, you know, she's using a lot of lingo from like the woke discourse.
Sure.
And then like she ends the scene with like, she looked at her friend, the only other brown girl in the room, who were not being consulted about this whole situation. It's like all the white people having this, you know, argument about this racist donut.
Of course.
I don't know why I'm bringing that in. It just felt like it's relevant, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
What?
No, it's just interesting, right? Because, like, for example, just like there's the therapizing, there's the use of
Oh, that's why. Yeah.
words and language. Words mean things, and there's power in language.
Yeah.
But there also is fear in language.
And manipulation and repression.
Yeah.
In language.
And it's
itself
interesting
is
when
a
that all comes
repressive
together.
feature of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like there's so much about us that we don't know or understand, and like language is the first, like, well, it's not the first repression. We experience repression when we first start to come into an ego identity as little children, but then we start learning language, and then language compresses and flattens our experience of everything into like these words as a concept. But like your experience of one, like let's say a word, I don't know, like you're holding these cards, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of associations and memories and experiences tactilely that you think of when you think of cards that are different than mine.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So we might have a shared word, but we mean different things by it. Now that's something that we can generally agree on.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like when you get to complex like human emotions and experiences,
I
it's
know.
like,
I know. Yeah, I mean, like gay versus queer, you know, I was talking to somebody, you know, a white person, and, you know, they were kind of like, you know, when you can just tell that people are like stumbling over their words a little bit, not necessarily stumbling, but like, it's just like, oh, like, it's like, it feels, you can feel the words coming out of their mouth. And it's like, oh, something, blah, 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 you know, 6 African Americans. And I said, you know, you can just say black people. Because
That's
it
kind of
sounds
newer,
a little
yeah.
performative, and also not all black people are African American.
totally.
And
I know,
so,
yeah.
you know, it's just kind of, and then he was like, oh. And then, but it's just interesting, right? Because mind you, this is like somebody from the Bay Area, and like, you know, and, but but these also are like the same kind of people that are like, oh, you know, what are things? What are the rules? And it's just like, no, that it's not about that. It's just about intention, in my opinion, at the end of the day. It's like, what is your intention? And then you frame your language around your intention. And then if you misuse language, but if your intention is not what that misuse is not framed in like bad intention, nobody is gonna like shoot you for misgendering somebody.
Well, they might get pissed, but
Nobody's gonna shoot you for misgendering somebody.
Right, but
You know
like-
what I mean? But they act like they're gonna get shot if they if they misgender somebody.
I would say that, yeah, like if you have a good intention, but if you're willing to, like, hear if you're mistaken or wrong.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's not, what do I have to protect? Like, if I'm, you know, like Brene Brown says, I am not here to be right. I'm here to get it right. And
Sure.
that always sticks in my mind because I love that. It's like, well, you're gonna fuck up. Like,
Yeah.
if you're just like, help me, tell me, and then you take that correction in a way that's like open-hearted and vulnerable, and let your own defenses sit over here.
Yeah.
Like, it's all the best you can do, versus like, no, I gotta be right and gotta fight for, this like, I'm evolved. Persona,
Yeah, exactly.
which is like, then you're like fighting for a perception about yourself.
Or like, what are you fighting for?
Well, so that you might think that I am evolved versus like, or like, I don't want to be in trouble or whatever the thing is. It's
Yeah. So we are recording this in the first half of 2025. Things, right? I know. It's wild out here, folks. If you're listening to this and it's 2030, I'm so glad that you're listening to this. Hi, how are you? Since the last time that we
withhold an opinion.
Since the last time that we talked, a lot has changed, and a lot hasn't, right? Because we get a lot of change, and then we get a lot of progress, and then we get a lot of regress. We get a lot of progress, we get a lot of regress.
I wonder if we ever change, though. That might be a big,
right?
Yeah,
I mean, some has changed, right? Like the fact that I, have an LLC in my own bank account, that is a big difference, right? Like in my mother's lifetime, that's something that changed. And so that's how short also in the length of time these changes are. And I suspect that that's why they're fighting to like go back to this change, because there's still people around that remember what it was like before these dang queers and women had rights.
Yeah, before women voted.
Yeah, and literally had their own bank accounts. Were able to divorce, like had the right to divorce. There's a presentation that I make. My mom over the years, especially in the last 20 years or so, really started teaching me about financial freedom and investing. And
what's that?
I
don't know about it. Can your mom
that
teach
used
me?
to be me. I can give you the presentation. And so she started teaching me, and for the longest time I was like, whatever, mom, like, what are you talking about? I'm out here trying to survive. And then life finally got me to a point that I was like, oh, I actually can now pay attention to these concepts. Fast forward, at my day job, I last year was thrust into moderating a session that was about investing with somebody who's like a high up person in this tech company who knows what they're talking about. And at the end of the session, I was like, oh shit, I kind of have some grasp on the language. And so I put together like a basic presentation for other admins, because I'm an administrative assistant, and so I basically work with a lot of women and queers, right? People that famously are not necessarily financially literate when it comes to investing and things like that, and like saving for the future. And so I make this presentation, and as part of the presentation, I point out that it was in the 70s, literally my mother's lifetime. My mother was a teenager when women were given the right to have their own bank accounts. And the other statistic that's scary is the divorce one, and that the other number that changed when women were allowed to have, divorces, suicide rates went down, because that was the only other way out. And when I talk to young men that are like, oh, like dating these days, or like women these days, or blah, 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 I'm like, you do know that there's just a big change and a shift, and we are the guinea pigs to this change. And there's resistance to the change. But when I tell a 30-something-year-old man that my mom, in theory, would not have been able to have their own bank account, and that because women were able to get divorces, that literally suicide rates went down. When I use those words, suddenly they're like, oh shit. Like, it's just like, oh shit. But then fast forward, the reason why I'm banging these drums is because they are trying to take a lot of this away. They are slowly but surely trying to take a lot of these rights away. And so it's interesting, right? Because as I mentioned, we were at the Trans March last year, which to me, it felt very to the essence of what Pride marches should be and used to be. And it's more that it should be about a resistance and not like a corporate celebration and a corporate party. And so I'm curious to see, with so many rights under attack, if we see more of a return this Pride season, even the fact that it's called a Pride season, to that, kind of resistance versus corporate party. Because I mean,
so. Something revolutionary versus like, Yeah, homogenizing.
Because a lot of these companies aren't even going to have the budget to have the floats this year because they cut their DEI budgets.
I know.
I suspect that a lot of them aren't even going to show up to Pride. So, you know what I mean? It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that shit, it all stirs a lot in me. I mean, I have like a lot going on around I mean, like everybody.
Sure.
Think, I'm generalizing.
I don't
but
even like, I say the Orange Terror. I don't even like give him
it's
any
just-
title.
oof. It's so difficult to even look at him.
I know. I've been very delulu. I've been very like, when the news is on, I just kind of like fly, 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 little bird, fly, fly, fly away.
You know what I think a lot too? I don't know if this is delusional but there's a kind of like the political conversations themselves they're not deep enough to get to like the human experience underneath like the political divides, but there's like a strata of human experience where we're all in it together literally and just don't realize it, or not living that way, or in like fierce competition. And like listening to political conversations, it's kind of difficult because I'm like, this just doesn't get deep enough to like what's going on in people. Why am I saying this?
Well, to me, that's when I feel those feelings, and what I do with those feelings is that I just lean into community because that's what I can.
It's the only thing I can do right now.
Yes, and it feels good, but not just feels good. It feels like it has impact. It feels like it has actual tangible impact, and then that's all I can really do.
Something to do with the fear. I was talking to. I have a supervisor that I work with periodically in my work. And she has a background in neuroscience, and so she talks a lot about nervous system stuff with me, which has been really helpful because I've been through a lot of trauma, but I've also been like a hate crime survivor. And
go back to the previous episodes if you want to hear about that.
Anyway, yeah. So, but
that's why I always say that I'm very honored that both of you shared your stories because you both shared your trauma with me.
Oh yeah.
Very deep trauma, and that's why I'm so honored to have to have those. Yeah, to be a steward of those stories.
Well, thank you for that. And her name's Shadeen. And she was like, your response to fear may not be like a freeze like you think it is because I've always thought of myself as a freeze. And she's like, it seems like it's kind of becoming a fight. And then one of the experiences that comes to my mind, I've been writing about it a lot because I hope we can get into talking about my writing in that. Is like when I was in the car that night, this is 1999, whenever I was being attacked by these guys, I was in this car seat and like just I couldn't get out. I thought of myself as like being in a freeze, but like it was almost like I was trying to have a fight response and couldn't get anywhere with it, and have been kind of in that kind of contradictory response for a long time.
It almost feels like limbo.
Totally. And now with this whole administration, like the day after Trump won and I was or the orange
terror
yeah, the
that guy.
Yeah.
That thing.
The fucking piss on the toilet seat. Yeah. I had this the next morning when I woke up.
Which should have been pre-cum. Sorry.
Oh, not with him in the same sentence.
No. I mean, that he should have been pre-cum.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not following.
He shouldn't have been born.
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't even put these two words in the same like thought. What am I saying?
The day after.
Oh, well, the day after, yeah, I woke up and just had this kind of like gutted feeling, and like it kind of felt like I went like underwater for a while, like, and just couldn't like get out. But I was having it brought all that trauma back up into circulation because I had this feeling of like those people that tried to attack me, like personally, are now in the government and are coming for me, kind of thing. And so like I had this kind of like thing going on for a while and have not been like super involved in resistance yet because of that. And then it's actually helping me now, like, to take a different stance and to, when you mention community, because my response recently has been like, it's helping me get energy to actually connect with people and to make actions in my immediate life differently than I used to before. When my privilege felt more insulating, because I kind of like, like many people come to San Francisco to kind of get away from all that. And, you know, I left Texas and, you know, which is a little bit delusory anyway, because bad shit happens everywhere and it's in people. Anyway, it's in me too, like the violence, you know? So, but like, anyway, yeah, after this all happened, I've just been like back in the car seat, you know, like with people outside the window in my mind and body, and trying to be like, the writer in me is like, yeah, but like, what if you actually do get back in the car seat? Like, what do you do now?
Yeah.
Instead of like being like, oh, like, would I fight? Would I run over those guys? Would I, which is like, you know, so I kind of like this like time travel kind of feeling. So that's where it's felt like in my response recently has been kind of emerging from that and being like, okay, get involved, be in community, do something very proactive rather than kind of like stay in this kind of like limbo state. Yeah, I don't know if that's making sense or not.
No, it does. And I read something recently that there's like this choir concept in terms of like social justice, and that like the reason why a choir can hold a note for so long is because people can drop in and out. Yeah. And you don't hear them because the choir holds the note, and that social justice should be that way.
Yeah, and then we're a network.
Yes.
We're not like a martyr.
Yes. I mean, and climate change is very similar too, but that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, like we do what we can, right? So like, for example, like my mom is like out canvassing because she's in Florida and they have like a special election coming up. And so she, you know, as a white presenting lady, is using her privilege, and I'm like, okay, white lady, go. And like her husband sits in the car and she goes from door to door and like is canvassing. And so that's what she can do, right? And like that's the most radical I've ever known her to be in my entire lifetime. Like I'm the radical kid, not her. And for me, it's like, you know, I used to be way more politically vocal, and now I've kind of fallen back. Like I'm a little bit more involved in terms of like what's happening in Puerto Rico, because to me that feels more like reachable, and actually like it matters way more to me now than it ever did before, than this experiment of a country. And so yeah, and then that for me, because I know that for my mental health, and so that I don't go down a rabbit hole of darkness and like despair to the point that I hurt myself, I'm better off here playing silly games with my friends on a podcast and getting a little deep and touching on it, right? Putting my foot in the water, maybe even up to my knee.
That's pointed toe.
Putting my foot in the water, and maybe up to my knee, but then I quickly get back out and, you know, get onto my little merry-go-round of Delulu. Let's talk about your writing. Talk to me about your
toe in the water. Run.
Let's talk to me about how your writing has evolved in the last few years. And
well, I'm writing a book.
Talk to me.
Yeah, but I cut you off.
No,
talk to me. My book.
Talk to me.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of writing, like in my field, you know, like around sexuality and stuff. But like,
because you write essays, right?
I do, but I also am writing a memoir.
Oh wow!
Yeah, actually tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Could you say congratulations?
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes I do feel like I have like this like long shock of blonde hair.
You do a little of this sometimes.
It's because I'm from Texas.
You do a little this sometimes.
I don't do that. When I see like the ghost hair, I'm like, I don't do that. But I do have like, I'll tell you what brings it out of me. How are we feeling about the new Gaga record?
You know, I have not sat with it. And to me, Gaga is always a slow burn for me. Like but that's something about like media in general and pop culture in general. Like if anything gets too much attention, I almost want nothing to do with it for a bit. Like I need the attention to die down. Then I need to come to the club when it's gotten a little quieter. Everybody's gotten it out of their system. They've moved on to the next thing. And then I'm like, have you heard this Lady Gaga?
Right.
So I'm in the abracadabra.
Oh, okay.
I am fully convinced that she is putting a spell on everybody.
She is.
She did say on the Culturistas that she enjoys things like arts, musical theater, the dark arts.
Yeah.
So what are your feelings? Do you have
I
feelings?
was
Do you have
just gonna
thoughts?
say she brings out the blonde long hair in me. Like, yeah. I was like I don't like the record. Like when it first came out, I was like, meh, Murphin. You know, like for a few days, I was just like not into it, and then like I don't know, something clicked, and then I can't stop. I cannot stop.
The spell broke through
every day, all the time. It did break through, and like actually last night I could not sleep. I was up in the middle of the night, and like I was like. I could not stop singing these songs.
I get that happens to me sometimes
So
at night.
annoying.
That like the song will just be in my head and I can't sleep.
Oh, what
That'll
is
probably
that
happen to me
shit?
tonight with Abracadabra.
I hate that.
Abracadabra.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that so my hairstylist loves Gaga. And we had been having all these conversations because when I had the
I know
extensions,
you have to do the hair.
I know when I had the extensions, and I miss my locks.
I missed them and I never saw them.
They'll be back. We're letting my head breathe a little bit for a while, and also my pocketbook because I had to go every week to go get my hair washed because I couldn't do it myself.
Yeah.
And so he would have to wash and blow my dry hair. Anyway, so I'm seeing him every week, and Disease had come out, and then it had gotten kind of quiet, and I was wondering, like, well, where's Gaga? Like, she kind of came and then disappeared. What's happening? And then my hairstylist, EJ, shout out EJ, he was like, oh, yeah, I don't know about Disease. Like, there wasn't really enough choreography. There wasn't enough choreo. And then literally within a week of us having that conversation, Abracadabra comes out, and then we're just sending it to each other in the DMs, and it's like all the memes. And I'm like, you ask and you receive. You got your choreo. You got your choreo. So, but we got super gay there for a second, but let's get extra gay. Talk to me about your book.
Okay, my book.
Your memoir.
It's a memoir, yeah. What
Does
do you
it,
want to know about it?
do you have a title for it?
I don't yet.
Do you have, okay, so then if you don't have a title, then you probably don't have like an idea of like what you want the cover to look like or anything like that.
No, I'm kind of in the phase of like finishing the frame of it all. So like, so like in memoir, it's not like autobiography. It's not just like you like tell your life story. It's kind of like a perspective that you're trying to create and like work with, using your life as the way that you talk about this. So it's an art form,
Sure.
Which is different than like an autobiographical, just kind of narrative.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
And you're like, well, it's about sex. It's about spirituality. It's about
So like instead of
trauma.
your entire life story,
Right.
it's taking a part of your life
Pieces.
and using that lens to
Yes.
tell this story.
Yes, to tell an emergent story
Got
that is
it.
actually kind of more of like an unconscious interaction. That's the art of it, right? It's like you start using scenes that are really like prolific in your memory, and you start piecing these together, and it starts creating its own story that you couldn't just sit down and be like, I'm gonna write a story about blah blah blah, because like that's too much ego. And it's like it's like an emergent process. It has to kind of come to you. And what you have is your memories, your scenes that kind of talk to each other. They reverberate with each other. So it's kind of like visual arts. It's just like using mental imagery. So yeah, sex in the closet, my marriage with my wife, trauma, lots of trauma with my dad, like a lot of beating. Actually, I'll tell you this, like you have to have a now of the story. Oh my God, who is it?
Oh no, it's the alarm. It's our timer.
I have 3 minutes.
No, we keep
Oh my
blowing,
God.
we keep blowing through our time.
No. Okay, so
No, but we can always come back. It's just
you have to
a
have a
commercial
now
break.
of the story, which means like the present time. Like for you as a reader to read a book, you have to
I love
have,
how
like,
jealous you got. You're like, who's calling?
I'm like, no, bitch, I'm talking about my book. You have to have like a like you wouldn't just be interested in reading a book about like past stories and more past stories and more. You have to have a kind of like a what's the prescient kind of like thing now that you need to. So there's a timeline that needs to be like stitched through. That's like something about like now.
Sure.
And then everything else can kind of revolve in and around that in whatever structure you want. So there's a lot of different kinds of ways to structure that. There's like starting in the middle of a story, then going back, and then coming forward again. It's like production in movies, like how do you tell the story? So I'm in this phase of kind of figuring out finally what my now of the story is, and there's all these like conversations that I have with my father, whom I do not speak to, in my head. And so these conversations are like a constant engagement with him, and they're all over the place. And I won't give away, like some of them are really violent, some of them are like really loving and compassionate, some of them are like sad, some of them that's kind of like, where is this narrator going with this conversation? And some of them actually are real conversations that I've had with him in the past, and they're interspersed, so you don't know, is this in his head or is this actually a real conversation? You can't tell. So that's kind of like an axis that is the orbit of the book.
Got it.
Then everything else is like sex in bathrooms, like sex in the closet.
This
Like,
feels like it would be an amazing stage play.
well, it is kind of like a play in the sense that like it's what makes you say that? I'm curious.
I can just something about seeing a stage of like, I just see it in my head, like a spotlight on you, a spotlight on your dad, conversations, goes dark, then like a vignette of like a moment, then it goes dark, then it's back the two of you, spotlight, one in one chair, one in the other, having the conversation. And again, you don't know if it's in your head or not. Like,
Totally.
you know what I mean? I don't know. I just saw it. It just flashed in my head like that.
It is kind of that. And so there's like sex in bathrooms, beatings with him, hate crime situation. That's like a major piece of the book, is like that whole recounting of that night. And so they're all kind of like stitched together though in ways where like in sex, like stuff comes up all the time. Like a shared image, like my dad taking his belt off, right? Well, that's also kind of like a BDSM moment. And just like, so the scenes have connective tissue that way, where it's like, oh, I'm reading this in a bathroom sex scene, but I also read this same line or the same association that the narrator makes when he's bent over his bed, and just like all these different kind of.
Yeah, I mean, me with the spanking. Like my mom used to, like, she was not gentle, and I'm into it very much in a kinky way, for sure.
With your
It's
mom.
so interesting. Not with my
I'm
mom,
sorry.
but hi, Mom. She does watch this sometimes. This is definitely one of those episodes that, like, Mom, do not watch this. I'm gonna have to call her and tell her, please skip
Don't
the
watch this
Finn
one.
episode and skip the Finn Patreon episodes. This is not somebody calling. This
Okay,
is
this
my.
is time. I'm like, hey.
It's time for another quick little commercial break, and then we'll come back and wrap up the main show. And then, as I just teased the Patreon, we are gonna have you also stick around for a quick little Patreon game. So you stick around. We'll be right back.
I was wondering, do you remember that you have a Patreon?
Wait, I have a Patreon?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Not only do you have a Patreon, but you also have a certain level of each Patreon that each person can aspire to become.
Yes, you can aspire to be one of my patrons.
What is the first level?
Well, I'm so glad that you asked the honey level. And in the honey level, you're going to get a sticker in the mail. You're also going to get production credit.
Hey.
And you also get access to hot cam footage, editing footage that used to end up on the editing room floor digitally, that now ends up in your hot little pockets in your honey level of the Patreon.
What
Yes.
is the second tier?
We have a sugar tier. In the sugar tier, you're going to get not one sticker. You're going to get 2 stickers in the mail every month. You're going to get the production credit.
Hey.
You're going to get the hot cam footage.
Okay.
But you're also going to get the new Patreon exclusive What's in My Snurse, and or just other Patreon exclusive content that would not be at the honey level, because honey, you're okay, but you're not sugar. If you take sugar and you throw it in a pot, put a little heat on it,
Okay.
you get caramel.
There's a caramel tier now?
That's the top tier.
Okay. I have to know, what is in the caramel tier?
What's in the caramel? You get 2 stickers in the mail every month. You know that you also get a little note handwritten by me?
What?
Yes, everybody gets a note with the stickers.
Well, that's fun.
I mean, it's like Christmas. I told you.
Okay.
You get the stickers. You get the production credit because you're what? A producer.
Hey.
You get the hot cam footage. You get the snurse footage. You get the other Patreon exclusive footage. But you also, and we are coming up on the first drop of these that people are going to get T-shirts in the mail, because every 6 months the caramel level gets a T-shirt in the mail. So yeah, so that is the Patreon.
Patreon!
MeMeCherry presents series of fortunate events.
Yes, we're back on there. Hi.
Hear about.
We're back. Yes. So TLDR, I was just saying off air, but then back on air, that my LLC got approved. MeMeCherry Productions is an LLC. Now, what does that mean? It means that SOFE Pod as an entity, Series of Fortunate Events, is under MeMeCherry Productions, but it also allows me I want to start a network. Like, I want to help other podcasters podcast, or other people that want to start podcast. And so that would be part of MeMeCherry Productions. My photography, because I'm always will be a photographer, and so anytime that somebody books me now as a photographer, it'll go under the MeMeCherry Productions umbrella.
Look at those tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just cleaning everything up.
Yeah.
Because so much of my personal money was bleeding into these hobbies, and
Totally.
now that I have a production manager that I'm paying, that was the other thing, is that like bringing on a contractor made it in sponsors and like bringing in money now and putting out money officially versus me just floating like a hobby.
Yeah.
Felt like it was time to make it official, but we'll see. And it's just, you know, I don't get me wrong. I appreciate my day job. It takes care of all of this. It helps me be financially independent in the Bay Area as a single woman, which is damn near impossible.
So cool.
But you know, I've survived layoffs, but I'm not going to survive layoffs forever. And so I'm trying to lay a pink brick road for me to make my own Oz to go off to someday when the wizard starts wizarding and I don't make a layoff cut. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Or that like
Just
someday
like-
it just gets to the point that I'm like, I'm done with this.
Do you feel you're
Bye.
ready? You're almost ready? You
No.
Oh, I was gonna say you kind of seem emotionally
I'm trying to lay the bricks down because this for so long was such a hobby, and then in the last couple of years it was brought back to life. And then last year I really was like, okay, let's rebrand it. Redid the website. I got the photo shoot, redid the logo. And then, you know, bringing somebody on, getting onto a proper production schedule, making promises of being consistent this year. My goal is that every Monday when you go to youtube.com/MeMeCherry or you go to SOFE Pod, there's going to be a new podcast episode. Hopefully that goes up to 2 times a week, that it's like Mondays and another day of the week you get a podcast episode.
I love that you do this. This is so cool. I mean, don't stop your flow.
No. Yeah. It's
But I feel
just,
like you've been doing it for a long time. Like, there's like something to be said about the dedication of your craft and like you're showing up for it and a discipline.
yeah.
Like,
And I'm finally really taking it seriously. So for as much as I started in 2017, I feel like, and there's this whole concept of like it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. I feel like I just was almost reborn. Like I feel like this podcast was almost reborn 2 years ago when I got really serious about it. Now with the formation of an LLC, it almost feels like a rebirth again. And so I'm just trying to set myself a path, a realistic one, because the thing is that I can't quit my day job right now. I can't. But I'm hoping that if I stay consistent, I stay dedicated, I stay passionate, and I keep growing, if you grow it, they will. If you build it, they will come. And that's what I'm hoping to manifest.
You're here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to play another fun little game?
Sure.
Would you rather sex and intimacy edition? I'm going to give you 2 options,
Okay.
and you tell me which you would rather.
Okay.
Have sex in a haunted house or on a moving roller coaster? You're like, I've done both. No.
No, a roller coaster.
Role play as a priest or a corrupt politician?
Well, it depends. There's gonna be.
Newsom
I was about to
or
say,
a
like,
priest?
to say things that are like triggering to people. Like, okay, correct politician, I guess. Yeah.
Only have missionary sex forever or only do BDSM but never vanilla again?
It's hard.
I know, that's a
I
hard
guess
one.
missionary, just because. there's,
Really?
really? Yeah, I mean, like,
I'd
I
pick
love,
the BDSM.
You picked it for you? Or
Yeah, I would pick BDSM because I would not be able to just have vanilla for the rest of my life.
Well, it
I'd
depends
rather.
on with, I was gonna say it depends on with whom.
Yeah, of
If
course.
it's with
Yeah.
oh boy.
Yeah.
Then,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd rather be like making love like missionary with him than like beating each other for the rest of our life. Not that that's not fun, and I love that, but like,
Emotionally fulfilling but average sex, or physically amazing but emotionally empty?
but I think there's a problem. There's a dichotomy in the question that's not really true.
What?
I think there's a pretext there because even
They-
if it's like disconnected sex, quote unquote, you're still
If,
managing.
if it's average, even if it's average, the fact that it's emotionally fulfilling makes it more than average.
Know that like if you're having just like sports sex, that there's not emotions because they're just like put in the basement, but they're there.
Got it.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
But let's say it's physically amazing, but there is no emotion. Like that's part, like that's the choice. That's behind door number 2. It's physically amazing, but there's no emotion.
oh well, if there is
And
no
behind
emotion,
door number 1, it's emotionally fulfilling, but it's average sex.
emotionally fulfilling average sex.
Got it.
Yeah.
You want to be emotionally fulfilled.
Yeah. Well, know what I'm saying though. I have to. is like, even if there is like the perception that there are not emotions,
Sure.
they're there.
Of course.
They're just managed away. So
Yes.
there's psychic energy being devoted to keeping them out of
Yes, I do agree
the
with
purview
that.
of your consciousness, but they're there.
Yes, I agree.
But if it were like truly,
I've
like,
dealt
just
with
are your
enough
emotions, then
men.
I'm like, oh, no.
I've dealt with enough men that have repressed emotions.
Yeah.
Now that I do recognize that, I think that's probably why I love seeing men cry.
Well, that's why men. I think like, I mean, men fuck to cry.
Wait,
Yeah.
say that again.
Men fuck to cry.
Tell that you just.
You're like, wait, what? Yeah, like sex is for most men. I'm generalizing, but for most men,
Like, is this the title of the show?
sex is a keyhole. Maybe that's the title of my book.
Men fuck to cry.
No, fuck to cry.
Oh, fuck to cry.
No,
Talk,
anyway.
let's pull on this thread. Pull this thread for me.
Well, it's like sex is like a keyhole for men to have emotional needs met, for like connection, for being filled, for existential like mirroring, like for grief processing, for the need for closeness, for the need to feel powerful, to feel like you have agency over your life, to feel blah 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 blah. It could go on and on. Like, but yeah, and so they are deprived of an emotional experience and vocabulary from little boys onward. There's such a performative like move away from vulnerability that like sex is a place where they can approximate and feel, even if they don't have words for it. So then a lot of women are like, you just want to fuck all the time. It's like, well, that's because he actually doesn't have the words that you want him to have. And for all those guys out there, yeah.
Wow. That really did just blow my mind a little bit. I'm like, I'm really speechless, but I'm a little speechless. It reminds me, there was something that came up on social media recently, and there was like this conversation around the differences between men and women and how they relate, especially like around conversations like grief. And they were using When Harry Met Sally as an example, and that why, for example, like men connect over sports. Because it's, and then the fact, and it's interesting. I love that you're facing me and talking to me this way, because in the example that they use is like cis-het straight men will have conversations like this, that they're looking at the game, but they're having the conversation, but they're not having to look at each other to be emotional. Yeah. And then versus like, and then they used When Harry Met Sally, the breakup scene, as an example, that Harry is at the game and that Sally is at a table, around a table with her friends, and they're looking at each other having the conversation. And that women have these built-in networks, and that's why, you know, the whole like male loneliness thing, it's just that it's just men also are not socialized and that so often they depend on their romantic partner to be their sole source of emotional connection, friendship, everything.
And if they ask their guy friends for support, they're largely shamed.
Yeah.
They don't get the support they need.
Yeah.
Or the witnessing they need. Literally. I mean, so it's like you can't grieve with your friends. You can't talk about a breakup with your friends because you're supposed to be tough. And so if you do, then you're a pussy. And like it's like
man up. Why are you crying over that bitch?
Exactly. Go get drunk and fuck another one. And like there's no built-in like support for being vulnerable, because it actually negates the male persona. Just to be that, it's like in oneself. It's very, very frightening for men.
Does that show up in queer relationships?
Totally.
As
Oh my
like
God.
a mirroring kind of like thing?
Yeah. You get like
you get double the...
Yes. You get double the shit, and like
double the pleasure, double the
shit.
trauma.
Yeah. Well, and like, yeah, because also and this is going to go even deeper than that, like sex, really intimate connected sex is going to bring up like a mother experience for people. They won't name it as that, but it's like when you were fused, when you were enmeshed with this body, when you're inside her, and so that in of itself is like scary and triggering for men, you know. It's because then it's like I need to get away from this, because it's about then identity and like performative, like look at my penis, like there's a kind of so it's scary, it's terrifying. So for a lot of men, it's like, I want this, I need it, because you do, but then you start to get it, and then you're like, get away, you know, and it's like, and like, you know, and then, you know, yes, there's the whole realm of, this is like, sex is fun, sex is good, pleasure, all the things that are cool about being queer and being able to have like more freedom and sexuality, and I'm not like against that. I just want to talk about the underbelly for people, because a lot of men in gay or male relationships are going to be like
gay
really. They're going to go like more like, you know, part of like open relationship strategy is to like help create space for the emergent parts of ourselves, to have the different parts of our sexuality honored, and that's all wonderful. And it's also for a lot of people like a way to like keep like managing distance and intimacy in some sort of way, which is fine, whatever. Like, you know, it's not any better or worse in a dyadic kind of monogamous relationship. It's just different ways of trying to manage the same stuff.
I know I'm having an interesting time navigating dating, because for so long I led with my sexuality because that's all I knew, and then I would find myself frustrated and sad at only being valued or feeling like I was only valued for my sexuality. And now, you know, it's like it's most of the men my age are trying to date like girls my trainer's age, which is like 20 something. And then most of the men that are trying to date women my age are looking for a nurse. And I'm still very much in my prime and I don't know what to do. I gained a lot of weight a few years ago. I'm now very much on a journey of losing it. 50 pounds down, like shooting for a little bit more to get back to my fighting weight. But I'm having these conversations with myself of like not going back to those old habits of like leading with sex for relationships, and like what is the value system for myself as a woman who is financially independent and sexy and smart, like what, like, and then men are just falling short left and right, you know, in terms of like what they think they need to bring to the table versus what they actually bring to the table. And not that I just date men, because I'm very much into people, but then like I struggle in trying to like embrace queer relationships. Like I remember last year having conversations with like my trans best friend, and like, you know, like maybe I'm like, you know, considering like, you know, like dipping my toe in that pond, right? And then she starts teasing me. We start joking, like there's the term on Drag Race that they joke about, like race chaser, which is also like another kind of chaser. And so then she starts teasing me like, oh, you're a chaser now. And then we go to hang out with another friend of ours who's another trans woman. And then me being like the little baby deer that I'm like, I'm a chaser now. And my friend's like, no, you're not. Shut the fuck up. We don't say that in mixed public. And I'm like, I don't know what to do here.
You're like, but you said.
Exactly. But then we had a very interesting conversation of like, well, and then I was like, well, how do I court a trans woman? And they're like, don't say that. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? Right. So I'm having this very like, I don't know how to show up in this potential next relationship. Also, the last
your friend
relationship,
didn't give you any guidance?
Please?
Your friend did not give you any guidance other than like chastising you
for
using the word that she gave you?
They did end up giving me some guidance. It was yes, they both ladies ended up giving me some pretty sage guidance in terms of actually, and this is a safe space to share it, and I guess it's probably good to share it, but like one of the anecdotes that they told me was like, don't make it about my cock. Oh. As a trans woman, the last thing that most of us want to think about or want to be like fetishized about is our dick or our cock. And so I was like, oh, good to know, because that was part of what was turning me on. So like, and then it's like, you know, and so then checking yourself, checking your bias, checking your whatever. So it's interesting. Yeah. And then like the last relationship I was in was like the most controlling one one of the more controlling ones I've been in when I audited it post relationship.
Which auditing post relationship?
No,
like then you like bring all the like and another thing.
Yeah.
And another thing.
Yeah. But I'm because I don't want to fall into another one of those again.
Yeah.
And so it's just like I don't. And then so in the last as of the beginning of this year, when the last guy that like was flirting with me, but then come to realize he was just kind of using me to distract himself from the current girl that he was actually into. And that's like a very repetitive theme in my life too, that I get used as a distraction versus like the main course. I'm going to start crying. Like I always feel like the side course and not the main course. And so I took myself somewhat off the market. I'm still on the apps, but I'm not like pursuing anything. I'm not like flirting with people. I'm not hitting on people. I was getting rejected left and right all of last year.
How do you meet guys like on apps? Like what's your
On
protocol?
apps, at the gym, like a good little gay boy.
Yeah, but like what do you I mean, some kind of like walk me through, like, do you like meet up to see if there's like a vibe?
It's been
like, what do
so
you-
long since I actually even met up with anybody. And the last couple of guys that I've flirted with or like kind of like hit on are guys that I've actually met in real life, because I was trying to get back into like get away from the apps and like meet like the people that you meet in real life, because I've had more success in that regard.
and allows like a natural.
But I guess I was just misreading signals left and right, or again, you know, I'm caught up in somebody's web of something else. And it's not, so that's not really about, like, I keep getting caught up in shit that's like not really about me, or I'm misreading signals. But then mind you, there was another person last year that like, and it really, like, I was like, whoa, the way that they approached it, because it was somebody that I met at the gym and I thought they were flirting with me. And so I flirted back. And then they suddenly were like, this makes me very uncomfortable. You need to stop talking to me like this and stop touching me and like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa. Fast forward, I'm talking to somebody else in the little gym circle. And mind you, this is a man. And he was like, oh, I always thought he was flirting with me too. So he might just be like a flirty guy. Like, you know how some people just have flirty energy? But then I misread it. You know what I mean? And so then I'm just like, but then that makes me paranoid. Like, what's real? What's not? Like,
and it's like uncomfortable to like try to read like signals and games.
yeah. And so that's why I'm
Yeah,
just
like-
taking myself off the shelf. I'm like, I'm done for a while.
Well,
Unless somebody wants to set me up, I'm totally set up.
the reason I asked is because there's like a kind of like,
I feel like my next partner is going to be somebody that gets introduced to me by somebody that I know. Like, it has to be somebody that's like, you're a great person. I have a great person for you. Let me introduce you. Like, I feel like that's going to be like my next
Like,
successful
you
relationship.
do it for me. Well, like
Find me somebody.
I mean, I haven't done this, like, so I haven't met someone to date on apps.
Like, do I go the matchmaker route?
Well, I've done like sex from apps,
Matchmaker?
but like not
Yeah.
dating, so I can't really talk.
I
from
have
personal
dated from
experience.
apps, but it's been a long time since it was successful. I did meet my last relationship on Bumble. So for whatever that's,
That's
know,
such an
worth.
interesting like double entendre, Bumble,
I know, right?
right? Because it's like I get the Bumble like B thing, but then it's like a Bumbled that, like,
I know.
you know what I mean?
I know.
Fucking Bumbled.
I know. Yeah. And it's so sad. Like, our first date is like one of the best first dates I've ever had in my life. And I'll always have fond memories of that night. And like, but yeah, our relationship, we got very quickly enmeshed. And then it also very quickly just got, it got dark. Like, when I met him, I was beginning my sobriety journey. I was doing 75 hard. And he, in my opinion, with peace and love, at least when I was dating him, was a bit of a binge drinker. And he was ready for me to finish the 75 hard so I could start drinking again. And we had like, the first night that I started drinking again, we had like a bad night. And I remember the next day, he was like, yo, you were kind of a little mean last night. And I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't drink anymore. And he told me, no, but I want to be able to have wine with you at dinner. And like, that's when I should have known that like, we were not a good match. Long story short, we stayed together a lot longer than we should have. And yeah, we broke up February of last year. And so I've been trying, but I haven't been with anybody since then.
Do you know what I like thinking? Like, this is, I am thinking about starting something in the Bay. It's like a dating service for people to meet people, but like through doing service.
That's fun. Yeah, I like having some kind of purpose tied around it.
Yeah, 'cause
That's
you meet
good.
people with values that you share
Yeah.
versus like, I don't know, you're on
You're
an
hot.
app.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
I very much have, like, you know, for years I joked that like I'm a gay man in a woman's body, because I do sometimes fall in that trap of like, oh my God, this person's so hot, and then like you just kind of like, ugh. But then, and that also goes back to my ADD language that now I start asking myself, do you really like this person or is it just hyperfixation?
Well, yeah, but also it's like,
because I've noticed now, last time I let myself have a beat and like take a minute, it kind of faded. And it was like, oh, it kind of was low-key hyperfixation. I don't actually like that person as much as I thought I did.
yeah, I feel like, I mean, for me, the work is like taking those moments. It's like learning from them. Maybe it's like I want to connect with this person, or maybe it means something about you in some way that's like,
I know.
do you know what I mean? Something integrative for you about yourself that you're like seeing in this other person.
I know.
Or, you know.
I've been like, I keep teasing that like I'm on the verge of next time we go back to Vegas of just renting somebody for the night.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I need some help.
At least there's some safeguards in that, right?
Yes.
It's like I'm just gonna rent you,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll like be like, bye.
Yeah.
I don't really.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a little bit emotional.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that'll help you kind of feel something like connected and
Well,
for you? Like
I miss intimacy. I miss like physical touch in like an intimate way. I miss feeling sexy. I miss feeling wanted, desired, you know, like all those things. And I also feel like there was starting to be like this air of desperation when I was flirting with people. And I feel like if I shake some of the dust off, some of that desperation will be there. And I won't be so thirsty.
Well, yeah, because it's like, what could you experience in that with the fun aspect of your outer world, right? But like your inner life that gets to be in contact with you while you're having that experience. Like,
Yeah.
what could you walk away with that? Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a kind of like a magical talisman.
Yes.
Take into the fucking dating
Yeah.
world.
I know. I just need to shake off some of this desperation. I feel like I was starting to come off a little desperate. A little desperado.
I have no comment on that. I don't know. I don't know.
Because people throw themselves at you, Finn.
It doesn't, I don't. You know, I actually don't like it when people are like, oh my God, you're so handsome or whatever.
Really?
I feel like that's more about other people than it is about me.
I
It's kind of like, yeah, whatever. What else? Like, it kind of.
Yeah.
And then I've been criticized. I'm like, yeah, well, what if people never said that to you? I'm like, okay, maybe that's true. I don't know. But, like, yeah, there's a kind of like a reaction in me of just like, I'm like, you think I want to hear that, but actually you don't know me. And, like, you're just telling me more about, like,
Yeah.
it's almost like you're trying to get something from me is my first like
Yeah.
fear. Like,
Yeah,
what do
yeah.
you want from me? What?
I have a similar reaction. My opener line on Bumble, and because to me it's very telling of what people's answers are, is you're stranded on a desert island. You can only have 3 things with you. What are they?
You have that? That's
Yeah.
super clever.
And most of my, like, so many, because I use it as a screener, because like when I get people that are like, yo, sexy ass, a basketball and
pussy.
and some money. And I'm like, what the fuck is money gonna do for you on a stranded island?
yeah.
And I don't engage anymore, but like sometimes I want to be like, what would money do for you on a stranded island? Because sir, do you know that like that doesn't do anything for you? Versus like the guy that's like a shovel, a bucket, and a tarp. And I'm like, you're a practical young man. I want to talk to you. You know?
Shelter, an adequate supply of food, and you.
But that always makes me uncomfortable. Like, no, obviously I'm on the island with you. We need you to be more practical with these 3 items, sir.
I can't heal you. You're like, oh no, he wants a mom.
I know. Or like, you know, some sex doll, some sex robot, you know. I get a lot of that.
I would be into having a sex robot on an island. Totally.
Ooh, okay, let's ask you,
Okay.
Finn Deerhart. You're stranded on a desert island. You can manifest. You can snap your fingers and 3 things appear, but 3 things only. What are and Sam is not one of them.
Okay.
What are the 3 things that you're snapping your fingers and you're manifesting on this deserted island?
Health. Longevity.
Really?
And a helicopter to rescue me. Yes.
Okay, that's super practical.
Right?
That's so practical. I'm mad.
Stranded on an island. Not island material.
That's actually the best answer.
Well, I mean, yeah, like a search party that finds me.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes. We're not going to yellow jackets our way out of this island.
No.
Finn, you are a delight. You are a doll. You're not going to go anywhere because you're going to stick around for a fun little Patreon exclusive segment.
This is where I get naked.
I don't know,
This is where
maybe.
we, like, start to do the thing we talked about.
You know, our Telfie, our new Telfar, she does have some naughty questions in her because so basically the new Patreon segment that's exclusive for the sugar and the caramel
this is a
levels.
strap situation going on. I'm like don't have enough shoulders
Don't
for this.
worry
It's for
about
like
the straps.
fucking like.
But see, there's little slips in there.
Okay.
And so there's some naughty. There's new questions
good.
in the Telfie, and they are extra
love it.
naughty, which is why they go behind the Patreon paywall. So for you, caramel,
Go back there behind that paywall.
Yes, get behind that paywall,
Behind that
Daddy.
paywall.
Give me that paywall.
Yeah.
We're getting a little too excited early. Save it for the Patreon. Thank you
Yes,
for coming
thank you.
back.
Yeah,
Thank you
for
for
sure. Thank
being.
you for having me
Of
back
course.
again.
Thank you for
For boring
sharing.
people with 3 rounds of like, oh god.
Oh, you're the best. You're awesome. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. Finn, when you are wanting to get flirty with Sam, if you're going to use
This is in
emojis,
paywall?
this is not behind the paywall.
Okay.
You're going to use 3 emojis to flirt with Sam. What are the 3 emojis that
This
you're
is
using?
easy.
Tell me.
The eggplant.
Okay.
The peach.
Okay.
And it's a wild card. It could be like the nuts. It could be
Oh.
the spurt.
Oh.
It could be the tongue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Leave any
It
of
could
those.
be the foot.
Oh.
Yeah.
Honey.
That's-
So leave any of those in the comments on YouTube. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that you can listen to podcasts, make sure to leave a 5-star review. It helps a glittery pirate ship like mine sail deeper and bluer seas. If you want to come support us on Patreon, patreon.com/MeMeCherry Productions, you get happy mail, you get stickers in the mail. If you're in the caramel level, you twice a year you get a t-shirt in the mail. I just sent out some t-shirts. So that's
Yay.
very exciting that I've had patrons that long enough. If you're on Instagram, MeMeCherry IG, where can they find you on social media?
Instagram Finn Deerhart, FINNDEERHART. A lot
Perfect.
of people misspell my name. So yeah, Finn Deerhart on Instagram.
Heart like the wrestlers.
Huh?
There's like a famous wrestling family that's the HART, the Hearts.
Okay.
Yeah, Bret Hart.
Sure. Yeah,
And
like
then
the
some.
wrestlers.
Yes.
Also Finn Deerhart on Blue Sky.
Oh, nice.
And actually, the thing that I really want you to go to is finndeerhart.substack.com.
Boom.
Yeah, my
Sign up for the
Substack. Yeah,
Substack.
it's called Getting to Naked. Go to my Substack, subscribe to that, and if you're interested, be a paying subscriber.
Beautiful.
So I can get my book finished.
Yes, let's get the book finished.
book finished.
And as the most beautiful full circle, and I realized it when you got here. So we met at Oasis
Right.
many moons ago
Yeah.
in the side room. Well, fast forward to 2025, August 7th, San Francisco, Oasis, MeMeCherry's Big Bake. 2025's Sophie Pod's live show. Tickets are already on sale.
Oh,
I have an
that's so cool.
amazing cast of people. I just locked in one more cast member. You're going to be finding out about these cast members as we get closer to the show. If you follow me on social media, there are some tips already being dropped, but you got to follow me on Instagram, but you might see some of the names there. I will tell you, you know who you will actually for sure definitely see at that show?
Me.
Ooh, and me. But me. You'll see me.
I want to volunteer. Can I be involved?
Oh my God,
Do you need
please.
volunteers?
Yes. Do you want to work the merch table?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boom. And you'll see Finn working the merch
Yep.
table.
Yeah.
And I think my camera just timed out. So you're listening to this. You're probably looking at a cute little picture of us. Actually, sophiepod.com/live. You're seeing that on the screen right now. And we're going to say goodbye. So
Bye.
goodbye.
Yeah, bye. Thank you.
MeMeCherry.